Alright, so today we continue with our class Shabbos Home, and this session and all of them should be dedicated to the Refuah Shlema with your Rabbi Yaron Raven Shlita. His name is Yaron Ben Doris. Also to Yehudias Bas Noach, Ariel Ora Bas Anna, Yemim Rasi Rachel Bas Brindel, David Shloma Ben Sandra. Also a quick release Moshe Shmuel Ben Pnina. So we learn today after several days break. Right, Baruch HaShem. All right, and also Atzlacha Rabba to our dear friends, Giveres Chana Bas Abraham, and the whole family. Atzlacha Rabba. All right. 1 second. All right, so we continue today with our class Shabbos Home, and we start a new chapter, and chapter 19, and our topic is winnowing. Zoreh. Okay. And section 1 of Melachah. Zoreh, winnowing, is one of 39 Avos Melachas that are prohibited on Shabbos. Winnowing was required for the construction of the Mishkan to separate parts of the plants used for dyeing from the unusable chaff. Right. So first they would beat the herbs. Right. Same bit they do with with grains. Right. With wheat, with others, and then they throw it up. Right. And usually it's on a high place where there's wind, and wind would blow away chaff. Chaff is like a shell around the seed, so it's usually it's very light. Okay, so that's why wind is going to blow it away, and seeds are heavier, so they fall on the ground. So that's the procedure. Okay, so let's see. Section number 2, definition. After threshing grains, after threshing grains and the like. So the like what is it? The like meaning these herbs, right, for dyes. The kernel, the kernels are physically separated from the chaff. The stalks and husks that make up the ears, yet are still mixed with them. Zoreh, winnowing, is an act of separating an undesirable matter, the chaff, from the wanted matter, the grain, by throwing the mixture into the wind, using the implement known as a winnowing fork. To leave large batches of grain and chaff into the air, to lift. Okay. So continue. The chaff, being lighter than the grain, blows away in a breeze, while the heavier grain falls on the ground. To the ground. Okay. Thus the essence of the Melacha is to separate desired from undesired items by means of the wind. Okay. Right. So it's very similar, and we're going to see Boreh. We're talking about this Melachas of separating in our Shabbos kitchen class. Right, separate. So it is from here. So let's see. Is it from here or from squeezing? Okay, we'll see. Doesn't matter. But it's the idea is very, very similar. Okay. So again, from the beginning, quickly. After threshing the grains, so after usually how they would thresh the grain, they would let animal step on them, right? They would just beat them up. Okay. So after the threshing the grain and the like, the kernels and the physically separated from chaff. So meaning they are separate, but in a pile they're still together. So now they will throw up, and right, and what is it? And the winter is going to blow off. Okay, the chaff. So what can you? And they would use the special implements, special fork, right? Right. Such fork, with this fork, they would be able to lift a lot of grain in the air, which is very productive. I'm not sure what they do today with that, but something similar thing. Okay. So continue. So section number 3. To which item the Melachah applies? The Melachah Da'araisa applies only to the items grown from the ground. There's a grain peanuts. However, there is rabbinic prohibition to winnow even items that do not grow from the ground. Okay, so as most of restrictions with this kind of halachas is only the things that grow from the ground, meaning the similar idea like as it was used in the time of building of the Mishkan. Okay, so it's on a biblical level. On a rabbinic level, they say even something that does not grow to the ground. So again, the same idea as we spoke many times before, because people would mistake and see this one is allowed, maybe others is allowed as well. Okay. So section number 4, methods of doing the melacha. How to throwing is done. One transgresses the Melachah of Winnowing by using any type of implement which fit for this task, be it winnowing fork, shovels, spade, or winnowing machine. Okay. Furthermore, even if the mixture is thrown into the wind by the hand, one has transgressed the Melachah. Okay. So 1 second. Let's see. No, that's it. All right. So let's try to how the throwing is done. So again, with other melachas, with a special instrument, whatever special instrument that usually used for this or similar to that special instrument. So for sure it's forbidden. So fork. I'm not sure if I ever saw this kind of fork, but shovels. Yeah, shovels make sense, right? So meaning makes sense. Spade. Again, I'm not sure how they would do with spade, but right. Or winnowing machine. So today maybe they have a fan and they would like blow the chaff to make it more efficient. Okay. Furthermore, even if the mixture is thrown into the wind by hand, one transgresses this melacha. Okay. So by hand, it's not as productive, but still exactly the same idea. Okay, so subsection B, sources of the wind. The Melachah transgress whether the wind produced naturally or artificially, as long as that items became separated through the action of wind. The Melachah of winnowing is transgressed. Therefore, it is forbidden to separate using the wind or fan. Right, fan is a good example. And even if the wind created by a person's blowing, right? So you have something like this skin from the peanuts, right? And it's a lot, and you want to blow off. That would be a problem. Okay. So again, sources of the wind. They say it's absolutely irrelevant. For example, in the summer, so many people leave fan working the whole day, right? Or some people put on a timer, but basically when it's done. So whether a person blew like himself or herself, or you use this fan, or wind went on a porch or something, or open the window, it's exactly the same, and it is forbidden. Why? Because the idea is to separate bad, meaning this chaff or whatever is it, from good. Okay. Section number 5. Amount required for this prohibition. The amount of food one has to winnow in order to transgress the melacha is that of dry fig. Right. So as in some categories, our sages they're a little more lenient than in others. So here is the dry fig. So dry fig, it's I think it's 1.5, if I remember correctly, 1.5 olives. Right, 1.5. So two figs, I think it's 3 olives. That's what I think. It could be wrong, but it's more than olive and less than an egg. So an egg is usually we count as 2 olives. There are different opinions, but usually it's 2 olives. So this is like this one is in the middle. Right. So continue. No, it's not sub. It's section 6, rabbinical prohibition. It is rabbinically prohibited to place both hands together and toss mixture up and down in order to cause the unwanted part to flow away. Okay, so we'll see the practical applications. Right. See the practical application. So meaning it's not allowed to toss the thing out, the thing up in order to the unwanted thing to be blown away. Okay, no problem. Likewise, it is forbidden to toss mixture from one hand to another, right? So that unwanted matter falls away. So I guess with these peanuts, okay, would be more practical, I think. Right, so it toss from one hand to another, and in the meantime, since it's much lighter, so peanuts would fly, but this thing would fall away. Right, being used separately. Okay, so in both of these instances, since no blowing of the air current is being used to separate the items, the Torah prohibition of winnowing does not apply. So, but our sages say it is still forbidden, because even there is no air blowing, but the same, there is the same idea, right? The same goal is achieved. Nevertheless, the sages were concerned that if these activities were permitted, they would lead to separate such items in a biblically prohibited manner, which is understandable. Right, so especially people who do not learn, like they say, what is the difference? I saw a rabbi doing this, or a religious person in my community did this. So with a fan or something, it would be more effective. Okay. Nevertheless, it is permissible to take the mixture in one's hand and wave it up and down to cause the unwanted matter to fall away. Since the separation in this manner is unusual, the rabbis were not concerned that that it would lead to separate in forbidden manner. Doing so, however, is permitted only if one will use the wanted item right away. Okay, so now there is some leniency. So as we said, to throw up in the air, right, when there's the wind, any source is forbidden. From one hand to another hand is forbidden rabbinically. So now we say if person would toss it up, right? What expression? Right? So they use nevertheless permitted to take mixture in one hand and wave it. No. Okay, so it's no tossing, right? Wave like this, goes like this, and I mean if you go fast and if you have the peanuts, most likely this the skin would fly away. I'm not sure if everything, but for sure it's going to help. Okay. So right, so that does not leave his hand. Since separating this matter is unusual, so rabbis were not concerned. I would not concerned lead to a separation of forbidden matter. Okay. So, but again, there is condition that it must be for constructive purpose. What is constructive purpose? That you're going to eat it right away, right? Or use it. If you're not going to use it right away, so that's then it is forbidden. Okay. So next section is number 7, and now topic is winnowing without separating. Winnowing without separating. As mentioned above, the definition of Melachah of Winnowing is separating undesirable matter from desirable matter by means of the wind. However, Rama, Orach Chaim 3:19-17, cites the opinion of Yerushalmi that the definition of Melachah or winnowing is dispersing the item by the means of the wind. According to Yerushalmi, the Melachah transgress even if there is no selection is being made. Thus, for example, it is prohibited to spit against the wind, since saliva will become scattered. Okay, so let's. How long is it? Okay, let's do paragraph by paragraph. So again, as mentioned above, the definition of Melachah is winnowing, separating undesirable matter from desirable. So that's the main goal, right? By the means of the will. Desirable from undesirable by the means of the wind. So and same with Melachah of Winnowing. So you can only separate desirable from undesirable with your hand, and for right now three conditions. So the examples that we used in that class, so we said cluster of grapes. Some of them are spoiled, right, and not desirable. So don't take it off and throw it in the garbage. Eat others, right? So that's the proper way of doing things. Okay, so now here is two conditions: undesirable from desirable, right, and with wind. So but Rama says, right, cites the opinion of Yerushalmi, the definition of winnowing is dispersing items by the means of the wind. So it's not only separating, but also like separate definition, totally different definition, is separating with the wind, okay, which is very interesting. Even when there is no selection is being made. So example, he said, don't spit against the wind, since the saliva become scattered. Okay. Spit against it. It's not a good idea to spit like in the open anyway. So as we said many times, you have napkins, like you have tissues. Spit into the tissues. Either go to the restroom. So okay. So continue. Although most poskim rule that halacha does not follow the view of Yerushalmi, some poskim advise that one should refrain from scattering by the means of the wind any item that grows from the ground. The category of item that grows from the ground include items that are nourished from items that grows from the ground. Since the persons is nourished from the vegetation that grows from the ground, he is considered an item that, in double quotes of course, that grows from the ground. In regard to the to this halacha, and so it's his saliva. Therefore, a person should not spit outdoors, if the wind will scatter the spit, his spit. Okay, so let's try to understand BeEzrat HaShem. So it says, although the most poskim do not accept it, is halacha. So accepted halacha is bad from good with the wind, right? So separation bad from good with the wind. So that's the definition. So they actually they do not accept separation, scattering with the wind, right? Right, just scattering without separation. But our poskim said, look, why would you go like intentionally going against this great poskim from Yerushalmi? I mean, this way we have to understand. We cannot say they were wrong. Halacha is not by them, but does not mean that they were that they say something wrong, right? So we have to always, as we take it into consideration, and if we can go by this opinion as well, so we should. Especially like as we said, spit in the public. It's right. It's not kavod HaShem, right? And they say Jew does that. Grows to the ground. Okay. Right. So okay. So second. Right, so that's why our poskim advise that one should refrain from scattering by the winds of wind something that grown from the ground. So from the ground, what is grown from the ground? Of course, fruits, vegetables. Of course, the ground itself is included then this category, and also, as we said, person that nourished from the ground, right? Nourished from the ground, and that's why included. So the spittle of the person, of course, included, right? So continue. But in olden times, people were spitting much more. Even Jews, right? There were no tissues and this and that, but I think because of the food, many times as people would eat not spoiled food, but food that would become too spoiled. They would have food poisoning, this and that. So yeah, all of these bad things, right? So and it would be bad taste in their mouth, and they would like feel the desire to have the desire to spit. Okay, so Baruch Hashem, today we have refrigerators, right? So it's much better. Right. Hashem had mercy on us. So section number 8, practical applications. So it's, as you see, very, very short chapter. Throwing breadcrumbs. Some poskim advice, one should not throw breadcrumbs from the heights if they will be scattered by the wind. Okay, so problem with the breadcrumbs. Problem there are two problems with breadcrumbs. First problem with the breadcrumbs, so meaning if there is no air, right, and you have a porch or something, and you throw like a balcony, you throw it into the public territory. That's right. It's carrying, absolutely forbidden. Right, it's one thing, and another thing, if you want to feed animals, there is a problem. So we're not allowed to feed wild animal, right? The domesticated animal, not only domesticated animals that we are responsible for, like we have cat or whatever, or dog or whatever people have. Yes, cow, horses, whatever we have, right, in your farm. Yes, we have to feed them. We must feed them. Right, but wild animals, absolutely not. Okay. I mean, there is some exception. This Parasha Shira, right? Some people feed the birds, some people don't. Okay, no problem. B. Pouring water from the heights. It is permitted to pour water from the heights, even though it will be scattered by the wind. Since the water is not something that grows from the ground, and is in the double quotes. It is not included in prohibition of winnowing. Right, but okay, so water can be poured from the heights, even though it's going to get spread out. But also, if there is eruv, right? And of course, as we learned, there is a different prohibition, so we're not allowed to water the plants, right? Even unintentionally. So again, there are two issues with that. Okay. So next one, aerosol spray. Spraying a can of aerosol is not prohibited on account of winnowing, since it is not the wind that causes the scattering of the droplets, but the pressure of the liquid. There is a force through the nozzle head. Okay, so very, very simple, very straightforward. If somebody have these deodorants, like spray deodorants, or somebody have this air fresheners in a restroom, right, or in a room, right? Sometimes you need to have it in a room, right? For whatever reason. Okay, so right, so you can do it on Shabbos. Next one, adding water to a vaporizer. It is permitted to add water to the cold water vaporizer. Okay. So we finished. Let me quickly check what time is it. Let's leave it for next time.